Just going to let it roll. We can work
Okay. So I'm Julian Clayton with Field Lens. This is Todd Wynn with Rogers O'Brien. And we're going to kind of pick up a little bit from where Case left off with the technology and talk more about the technology as it relates to the field. So, you know, the AEC industry is typically more A and E than C, and we kind of have the opinion that the C is not silent. So when it comes to technology in the field, our opinion is that not only all the things that Case and these guys are doing are great, but what we feel is the key to it is to make that technology useful for the field, make it efficient for the field, make the guys who are actually swinging the hammers and carrying the pipe, make their days easier, and then the data that you get from that is a lot more beneficial to the owners, to the architects, and to the engineers. Instead of designing the new technology around the needs of the guys in the office, design it for the guys in the field, and then what you gain from that is so much better. And an example that I'll use is when I first started, I swung my first hammer for a paycheck when I was 12 years old, like 28 years ago. And back then there was not a cell phone on the job site. I'd never even seen a cell phone. And it stayed pretty much like that with the exception of the cell phone until like 2006, when I started seeing, started noticing more technology on the job site. When the iPhone and the iPad came out, one of the first things I noticed was a superintendent on a 50,000 square foot concrete pour in a grocery store. And his office had told him that he will be more efficient if he monitors his pour with the software that was on this iPad. And I won't mention what software it was, but the guy was standing there with his iPad, entering the pour data or attempting to enter the pour data into this app, and he couldn't do it. And he had his assistant come over, and the two of them could not figure out how to do it. And they're standing there in rubber boots with trucks lined up, standing in the middle of the pour, and he has been told by his office that he will be more efficient if he just uses this app to document his pour. So he stands there for about 30 minutes. He takes the iPad, he tosses it in the spout, watches it get covered up with concrete, pulls out his flip phone, and calls his office and says, "Yeah, I dropped your iPad in the pour. I'm going to continue doing my job. You can send me another one, but I can't guarantee its safety." Then he folds it up, puts it in his pocket, and goes around, and the pour is just fine. So that guy is suffering about it. And rather than me ramble on about all the things that I've seen in the industry, I think let Todd, as a member of the field who's actually doing a lot with technology to help his people be more efficient, let him kind of go through what he does.
Thanks, Julian. He's exactly right. It's amazing how when we try to push out some of these new technologies to the field, we never want to hinder productivity, right? Mm-hmm. Our goal is always to add a new tool that allows them to access data at a quicker pace, or being able to solve an issue with higher quality and speed, of course. But it's interesting. I came from the field as well as Julian, and my passion in life is all about the guy with the wrench in hand. It's about helping him. It's the guy who's between you and your design as an architect or an engineer, of whether that building is going to be beautiful or it's going to be beautiful on the outside and have some defects on the end. It is that guy that stands in between, right? Well, that's the guy that I really like to focus on personally, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, and kind of the path that it's taken the past few years. It's interesting that technology has always been really focused in the AEC industry in the office and in the trailer as well on the job sites. But right now we are going through a revolution in the field. And the reason why is because the hardware is now here. We see tablets and phones, right? So we tried pushing out mobile PCs and computers on wheels, the cow carts that you'd walk around the building. The problem was it wasn't usable, right? And the reason why was because there were specific usability studies put in place for these softwares to be operated with a mouse and a keyboard, right? So we were forcing something. So think about that whenever you're putting a hack together, or think with the user, what is he actually going to be doing? How's he going to be interacting with it? And it wasn't until April 3rd, 2010, we had our first usable gesture-driven device. And I owe it to the iPad. It might be some Android users in the room. I'm actually officially an Android user primarily before iOS, but I still owe it to them that before this came out, we didn't have that real efficient way to interact with the data in a mobile format on a large screen. So that's why you see iPads on all of our job sites at RO. You'll see them at many other GCs. Are there any other GCs in the room? Skanska. So you guys got iPads in the field?
Sure.
Exactly. And why you'll see primarily iOS in construction is we really follow the developer market, and that's good to know. I mean, there's primarily more construction apps on the iOS store than the Android store. So that's a lot of people ask, why do y'all love Apple? It's not about Apple. It's about the tools that are available, and that's on that store. So what we wanted to do is talk a little bit about some of those tools we're using, some of the apps we're using that we're pushing out in the field, and then also we wanted to give you guys a recap from CES. You asked, why did a contractor go to CES? So did all the companies there. Like, why is a construction company here? And actually, I didn't know this, but CES isn't open to the public. You actually have to be an industry affiliate to get in. So we faked our credentials, didn't we? We got away with it. But the point is, the reason why we wanted to be there is because that revolution that's affecting our guys right now, it's growing even more. You're going to see wearables. You're going to see vests that have safety patches built in that can measure whether the worker is getting dehydrated, or if he's having a cardiac arrest, or if he has suffered a fall. So we see really large safety opportunities. You're going to have wearable cameras for reality capture while you're walking the entire building. Being able to go into a room before we two-side all the walls, be able to take a 360-degree panoramic view, and now the owner has x-ray vision for the life of the building, right? So we can show you a little bit of that too on how we're using that in the field, a little bit how we're using Field Lens, but we also want to do a CES recap. This is really informal, so I want you guys to ask questions, discuss anything you're interested in specifically that you see, open it up, okay? All right, cool. So one thing I can show you, something that was so powerful, and it doesn't matter what system you use, there's so many DMS systems out there. But what I wanted to start with, I'm just going to show you in GoodReader. This changed everything, right? Just having all of the documents fully dynamic in the palm of the user's hand. At Rogers O'Brien, we also use color now as an information resource. It's amazing how we never could use color before, right? Because it costs too much to print, right? So we're breaking paradigms as well in the industry. We no longer have to live by the rules of paper, right? So some of the things I just wanted to point out and hopefully stimulate your imagination on other paradigms that you could possibly break. So colors, the green that you see, that's telling the user immediately when he opens the set, oh, I can navigate to somewhere else on my set. That's going to be an elevation, a detail. You guys have seen this. And the point is, it's no longer hard. There's many different programs out there that'll link your set automatically for you. We use Bluebeam. We love their batch link. We can link an entire set of architectural in under 3 minutes. If anyone wants to call me out on it, I got a video to prove it. We recorded one. But the beauty of it is our supers, now this is, once again, we're breaking paradigms, right? You have a guy that's been in the field and he's built buildings for 30 years with a full-size plan. It's not a light switch to take them down to a window that's 9 inches across, right? So the thing that I really want you to think though is this isn't the replacement, this is just the added tool to the tool belt. The beauty is whenever you see a superintendent using his full-size plan, because that's what he's used to, and then he looks at a specific area of the drawing and he says, let me see if there's an RFI or something modifying this area. And he pulls out his iPad and he checks and he says, no, we're good. Because he knows that what he's synced to is the one truth of the project, right? So that right there is what I call bridging them in. And that's what we have to be thinking about whenever we're pushing new technologies to the field for guys that have done it one way for so many years. It might click in our mind of saying, well, it just makes sense, do it this way. But someone who's gone out every day and done it one way, you can't expect that to click the same way. So what we've tried to do a really good job is bridge them in. to baby steps up to the point. So some of the things, though, that you can start doing with a dynamic set, of course, you can have all the elevations linked, any kind of details, but then you can start breaking more paradigms. What information do we normally keep inside the trailer? What information did we always keep in the field? We can now start dynamically connecting everything, right? One really great way to look at the field, guys, and I don't know if anyone's ever told it to you this way, but I'm going to take a shot at it. So I think of the guys, the project engineers, the project managers, the superintendents, they are manual data alignment managers. What I mean by that, if you could accept that for a second. So what I mean by that is there are silos of information that we're constantly, and your silos information in y'all's daily lives that you're having to pull from, right? Email, text message, any kind of other social media. But on a job site, we have these same silos. We have drawings, we have specs, we have submittals, we have RFIs, we have field use documents, we have schedules, and these are all separated silos. So that's going to be one of the greatest things that we're going to see in the next couple of years is an auto alignment of this data, okay? So right now, our guys are manually aligning all of it. If we took a door hinge, for example, and we said, there's a problem with it. Well, as the superintendent, I want to see all of the data presented to me aligned in a fashion that I can immediately interpret with ease and make an informed decision. But that doesn't happen right now in the field. What happens is what I call the Swiss cheese effect. We end up seeing data that's presented through basically the most accessible data that's in front of us, and then due to the schedule of the project and got to get it done, we can't wait, we can't find it, we have to make a decision. And sometimes that decision is not the right one. I really want to come up with an example of maybe do a sentence looking through Swiss cheese, and that sentence means one thing, and you pull it down and you see the full sentence and it means the complete opposite, because that is what happens in the field constantly. So ways that we're able to hopefully help auto align this data is through digital documents, through hyperlinking information, through taking media and bringing it again to the user in a usable fashion. Going into a room, taking a 360-degree panorama before we close up the walls. The owner comes back to us now and says, I want to add a TV on that wall. Well, we can check how far does that blocking extend. We now have the information available to us, whereas normally we'd have to pull off a piece of drywall or we'd have to use some type of stud finder and see what was behind there.
Tell you how much it costs to put up a monitor in a hospital in California? $7,000.
What kind of monitor? We're talking about display?
Put that monitor on the wall in a hospital, costs us $7,000.
I believe it.
Why so much money?
Because they have to figure out structurally, because we have a law called OSPOD.
Yeah.
Which requires an agency to approve any change in a hospital. And so, by the time you get all that information, so the company I used to work for, we laser scan every room in the hospital.
Right.
It's incredibly expensive, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper than.
Exactly. So, but it was worth it, right? Probably. I mean, than not having the data. What I just showed you there was a 99-cent app called 360 Panorama. That's the beauty of it. That's the revolution that we're now going to. It's now becoming accessible to all the guys in the field. The guy with the wrench in the hand can now have X-ray vision into the wall as well without using a $40,000 laser scanner. So that's why, really, this is more about stimulating your imaginations, too, on how these new tools, that 360 Panorama, that's a great app for using on vacations, right? Or you're at the stadium and you want to be able to get a great shot. Well, think of now, you go in and let's say that we put one of those on that double robot and it just, before you two-side the walls, it goes into every room and it takes a 360 Panorama and dumps it on the server. And now you have that. Or maybe it does it once a week.
Have you seen Gyroptic?
What is that? Yeah, Gyroptic. Yeah, so Gyroptic, that's going to be on our CES recap. They're amazing. It's a 360 camera, unlike any other 360 camera I've seen. Basically, the way that it captures 360 the entire time, but then the way that you get to interact with it is the way that we're used to interacting with video footage. It's in a screen-like fashion, but then you're able to use your finger to pan around the 360, right? So basically you get to look around wherever you want and have your own experience in that 360, but to be able to...
And it actually does it moving video.
Right, and it's
So
already...
360 video, so as you're going through a space, you can turn around and look behind you as you're going.
I wanted to get one before coming up here to put it on that robot, because it's already Oculus Rift ready as well. At CES, they had the Rift set up. You could put it on your head, and you're looking around the video. It was interesting. It was the video that I got to experience was just a guy in Italy walking down Venice, and he's walking. You're standing still, but as the video's playing, you're able to look around what was happening. Even when he was looking forward, you're getting to see what was happening behind him. It's unbelievable when you really start thinking about it. Movies are never going to be the same, right? I mean, you're going to watch it one way, Jaime, and I'm going to be looking over here watching another. And then the next time we watch it again, it's never the same. So some really interesting, fun stuff for sure. Another thing I told y'all some of the toys we brought, but one that's worth mentioning, just to give our guys more informed ways to make decisions. You guys seen this guy, the FLIR 1? This guy's great. This is thermal imaging, just IR. It's something that we've used in construction for 30 years, but we've always had to hire a thermographer. We've always had to hire a guy that has a $30,000 camera, or the cheapest one I knew you could really get that was any quality was about 8 to 10, probably. Julie,
now they're probably $3,000, but now
they're $350, and it's basically just a case. The newer design, this one was meant for the 5S and 5. The newer design just actually plugs straight into the lightning port, and it's here. I got another one actually. This one's called. Let's see if I got it in here. This one's called the Seek. But a guy can keep this in his vest now, right? He can pull it out, walks into a room, and he wants to see what outlets have been energized. Doesn't have to hook anything up. He can visually see, giving him a sixth sense, so to speak. But now it just plugs into your lightning cable. So anyone who wants to come play with this later, you can. If you have a difference of 10 degrees on an exterior wall than the room you're in, you can even start looking through the wall. You can check for missing insulation. We've used it. We 3D printed a bracket for our quadricopter, and we did a roof scan after a rain because water holds more heat right after. So you could actually potentially check if you have any kind of potential leakage into your insulation or so on. So I'm sorry, was there something?
That's smart, I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. That's just merging things together, right? That's hacking them together. That's what we're all here for. Is taking one cool product and hacking it to another one. And that's exactly what the point of this is to stimulate that imagination. Brought some other stuff too that we can talk about a little later. I don't know if y'all have seen the structure sensor. This is by Occipital. That 360 panorama app I showed you. Those guys, they did great in software. They decided to move to hardware. This just hooks straight onto your iPad. What's nice is, so you guys have iPads in the field. You've already purchased those. You can now purchase one of these and hook it on that iPad. And I call it the poor man's laser scanner. Basically uses the same technology as the Kinect on an Xbox, but it will do some great photogrammetry for you as well as give you a simple point cloud. But if you want to see that later, we can play with it. You can scan it up there. But anyways, we can jump into CES and show them some of the cool stuff we saw. We wanted to kind of recap that. Let's see. Any questions for how what other ways we're using it? Notice Field Lens, our host, we use this on every single project. This is our communication platform. It's basically our social network for the job site. But when we were at CES, we created a project, and anything cool we saw, we just logged it in there. It was something easy for us. We'll go to expanded view. So what we did, we were just kind of creating items of the best stuff, and wanted to talk about some of it with you and see kind of about some of the ideas. Let's see, this first one, Skipstone. This one was pretty cool. This was actually, what was this, Julian? This was a training.
Yeah, as you ask questions to a video. So basically what they had, Skipstone, what they'll do is they'll let you put out a training video for anything, any purpose at all, and then you anticipate the questions that are going to come up and where they would come up in the video. And if they could pop up anywhere in the video, that's fine. If you're talking about a specific thing and there may be 2 or 3 questions around that section of the video, you can just mark that section, and then if you use their player for the video, you can set it up so you can go ahead and answer those questions in video format as well. So if it requires a bit of backup on your part where you need to point at a diagram or record something in the app that you're demonstrating or whatever, you can have that readily available. And if they're watching the video in their player, which is web friendly, they can just speak out or type their question, and then the video will start playing the answer and then kick back where they left off and can continue through. So you get an interactive training with one person watching a video.
It was really cool. I mean, it was one of those things where it kind of stood out. We were there for the hardware, and this was something that was more in the training aspect. But I'm sure everyone who works for a company has some sort of LMS, learning management system, and I know in our company we're constantly trying to find ways to train guys better. What's better than having an intelligent training video source, right? I mean, when we tried it, you just look at it and you ask it a question, and they've recorded so many answers.
Yeah, the key to it was not just that it had this ability, but that it had the search ability. First of all, it understood me, which is a bold statement. If you can understand my accent, and take out the words that I just said and make it an actual question, then it's great. But you could type, you could misspell words, you could type. It worked off the search that it worked off sounds like just as much as it did keywords.
Right.
So it was a really strong search engine behind this product.
But you're restricted to whatever content they've already prepared.
No. You can build the content yourself. You just have to play it through their player.
So I know where you're getting at. So when you ask it a question, it doesn't understand what happens, right? It does not compute. No, it doesn't do that. What it says is, would you like to speak with a representative now? It basically gives you that next step on where to go.
Well, I'm just saying, you can make a YouTube video and you can have visual cues that come up the same way with a hyperlink to other videos.
Sure.
Right.
It's doing that. But
in this case, it would do that. Obviously, and it would give you the video as well. But what it also does is it captures the questions as they go along. So if you've anticipated what you think are going to be the questions, but then it's capturing that information.
That's
so
the power.
Now there are 5 other questions that you didn't think about. You can go ahead and answer those.
Right.
Tell those guys to get back out.
They keep asking about the Bluetooth feature. Add in information about Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So it helps you refine that training. Another thing were just the wearables, right? So once again, why does a GC go to? Because of all the wearable technology, we see it affecting the guy with the wrench. Well, here's wearable clothing. I mean, this was a jacket. They also had safety vests, but let's see if we can get. So this just has some lights built into it, but they're also looking at building in CO2 sensors and. Basically, he can control the different settings. Where I see it, though, is, right now we have all of our guys wear vests, right? So why not be able to have these lights just where those reflectors are, those are there. And when you walk into a room, one of our biggest problems in a new building is having proper lighting. So now why not you are the light, basically? And I was talking to this guy out of England. Oh, this is cool. Look at that. So when he raises his arm, do you see how it lit up just because of where his arm was? Think of that for your crane flagger, right? Big red light going. Everybody on site can see it now. I mean, it's just some new ways to think about leveraging this. But yeah, so you walk into the room, you press your button on your vest, and you're just like a big glow bug. You light up, and now you can start working.
So that's not washable.
Yes, it is. That was the coolest part. The jacket was fully machine washable. You didn't have to do anything with it. So yeah, just some little stuff. We have so much stuff here that we're not going to go through it all. We're just going to try to hit a couple of them. This company, ViewView, this was pretty cool. It was a wearable camera. They do all of the police cameras. All the policemen are starting to wear cameras now. They're really rugged. I don't know if we have a picture of them. We got in touch with them. They're sending us 3 right now to test in the field for superintendents that we're going to work with FieldLens on. Basically, here's the concept, right? Whenever you're going to go do a walkthrough, a job walk, and you want to be able to capture what's occurring, the ViewView camera is just, you're going to click it, and you're going to say, I'm going to do my job walk. You walk through the building, you hit the Wi-Fi connection back in the trailer, it dumps in the FieldLens, and now, 2 months later, I can go back and I can say, I want to see Julian's walk for July 7th. And you click on it, and there you go. You can go back and see who's working. It's just a more accurate daily report.
Does it have a GPS or location?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know.
I don't.
We haven't gotten, when we get them in, we'll be able to tear them apart and we'll see. But
How much are they?
right now they are $350 a piece, but they're sending us 3 for free to test out. So yeah, so they love the idea. They haven't even thought of using it for construction, and I just went there and told them, man, I see a really valuable use case here, and they said, well, here, test them out, and we'll
What's
see.
the camera angle of them, right? Like, for example, if you take capture images, do you capture images from everywhere, or it's just
It's actually a video that's constantly recording. You can do a video, or you can set it to where it does a time lapse, like takes a photo. Have you seen the narrative cam? It's kind of the do your own what is it? Your own biography, not biography. Your own, I don't know what they're marketing it for, but it's for people who want to just have a shot of their day every 15 seconds. You could also do a setting like that. I don't know if that's as good for us on the job site, if just every 15. We probably just want a video, and maybe we don't do it every day. Maybe it's once a week, but think of it this way, guys. In the field, I don't know if you are aware, but we take between 300 to 350 photos a day, collectively, as all of our guys on site. And the reason we're doing that for progress photos, quality control capture, I'm just trying to make it where it's no longer in the user's hands to think about it, right? It should be more of an attachment so that they can do what humans do best, and that's solving problems, making relationships. Let the computers take care of data capture and data entry. So that's what the mindset is here. We were one of the original Google Glass beta testers. We put Google Glass on some of our superintendents. We all know how Google Glass is kind of, but I brought a pair too if anyone wants to try them. But anyways, the point is that idea is still really what it represents is what we're after, right? It's the ability to take the device out of the guy's hands to have to take the photos and then go back to the trailer, take the time to organize them where they need to go. That's something that should already be automated. So we started hooking GoPros to their hard hats, and we started putting Google Glass on them, and any way that we can start making it more of an attachment and relieve them of the workload.
Did you see any drones?
Oh my goodness, did
1 or 2.
so there was a whole level just for drones. I'm droned out after CES, to be honest. There was there were so many. Some of the ones worth noting. The EVOO was one, EEVOO, I think. Very cool. It's directed towards our industry, engineering. It's got cameras on top, so it can fly under a bridge and do inspections. It also has stereographic cameras, so it can do object avoidance. A lot of intelligence there. I didn't get a price from it. It comes out this year, but very cool. And there were a few others as well that are starting to use visual flight paths and being able to capture. I was talking to someone, I don't remember who it is, but I think it'd be great where whenever we're drying in a building and we're putting all of our waterproofing on the outside of the drywall, that if let's say your exterior sheathing is green, if we can send the drone up and say, if you see this color, snap a photo and send it to the waterproofer. So it's just another way to start adding intelligence. You mentioned the 360 cam. This is the gyroptic. Let me see if I have an image of it. Oh, that was with the Oculus on, checking it out. Let me find a photo of it.
Matt, they had a micro drone coordinated ballet.
Oh yeah, the parrot booth.
Yeah, we got a
Every
video
7
of that.
minutes, it came out. What was great about that was they did they coordinated with the ground drones as well. They had
the videos.
giant stage with curtains, and then on 3 sides of the stage that came out, there were like these little mini doors with curtains. You didn't really know what they were for, and the ground drones would come out and then flip up onto the stage,
Yeah.
and then mimic
So ridiculous.
the behavior of the ones in the air. It was great.
Yeah. So that's the little gyroptic. He's a pretty cool little guy. Definitely check him out. He's $500. I want to get one and put him on that robot.
So, with this and body cameras and everything else,
Yeah.
Have you started looking at the legality issues of someone reviewing that?
Definitely.
Because if a change order isn't submitted and then you go back for a lawsuit later and you have footage proving that it was documented,
True. You're exactly right.
at that point, who's liable?
You're right, and it ends up the GC usually takes it either way.
Right.
So it really is,
Are you
man.
getting pushback then from GCs not wanting to give themselves an additional reason?
Well, we're the GC. We're a GC. So I'm just looking at our company, and really we're not a huge company. We're not big as Skanska. We're medium sized. We do about 400 million a year, but primarily healthcare. We do a lot of hospitals all over across the state of Texas. We have a culture of really, if we screwed it up, we want to fix it, and I think that's the right way. I think this new culture too, that this new generation, we're under the mindset of, I'm going to document it. If it was wrong, it was wrong, and I'm not going to try to sweep that under the rug. And there are superintendents that I work with in my own company that have that old school mentality of saying, well, I want to review the photos before we document them or before we archive them, and I ask why. If it's wrong, let's fix it. So I think that's something that we all have to do together for it to really work. But at our company, that's the stance we're taking. Now, what I'm more concerned with is the privacy. I don't want to affect the privacy of the user. I don't want him to think, God, I'm being filmed and tracked everywhere I go. That's why I was really trying to hit on, I think it's him saying, I want to go do this walkthrough now, and he turns it on. It's not you're being filmed everywhere you go throughout your job. Yeah, so that's kind of.
Like, as far as the management of all this data that you collect, like how is it done through field lens or?
That's where I lean on these guys.
That's what we're here for. We have the same mentality that Todd does. We don't want people to feel like field lens is a big brother. So, for instance, the GPS tracking is we do it now on images, but you can obviously turn that off. When we add that to different pieces of the app, as we do that, we make it an option. So that we're not one of those apps that is, constantly, like Disney World, like he was talking about earlier, where they know everywhere you are and what you're doing. Field Lens is not going to be that. But what we do want is to give you the ability to say, all right, I documented this particular deficiency when I was standing in this room, and the next time someone comes in that room, if deficiencies are something that they're associated with, we want to automatically be able to present them with that data and say, these are problems that are near you that you want to check out. And we want to be able to do that without the need for those buildings to have indoor locationing or things like. We want to just grab a snapshot of your altitude and your GPS location and say this is 40 things that are near you, and maybe they're not in this particular room, maybe they're in the next room, but at least you're thinking about it as you're going to that, not when you're 4 floors down and on the opposite side of the building. You're kind of getting that.
Well, so the question is, if Field Lens is an app and I use it to document it, then it goes to your database and it gets organized. But what if you use an external device like GoPro, whatever it is, to capture that data? Then what is the process?
So we're looking at that from a couple different aspects. We feel like you have to provide the option. So if you want it to happen automatically, then we have an API. And we will have that. GoPro is probably a bad example for us because GoPro is not set up for that. But there are camera manufacturers out there that do have the ability to do that. If they don't want to do it, then they can just grab it off of their external camera and dump it whenever they feel like it. They gotta have the option because, like Todd said, there are guys out there that want to review it first, and there are others out there that just want to get it and go and they don't want to touch it. So we want to be the holder for both of those.
And it would be like similar to Google Drive or whatever. So you would just it's in the cloud, so you put it in that folder and then it organizes it.
Right.
And it's searchable and stuff. And also like with pictures, for instance, when you capture a picture, it's like the name of it somehow becomes a problem because it's just like DOSC 325 whatever. But you wanted the name of it to tell you like what you're capturing. So it seems like there's a lot of
Exactly, and that's why in Field Lens nothing exists outside of an item. It doesn't matter what that item is. The item is as an observation, it's a task, it's a deficiency, or it's a safety item. But that item provides context to that media, to that file. And we have categories, we have locations that come straight out of the Revit model. If you took the time to organize that, if you didn't take the time to organize the project via your Revit model, you still can organize your Field Lens project by location. So that's
right.
And then also managing the content. Is it tradition that at the end of this, it's a handshake over to the client and facility manager, or is it something that the contractor typically keeps as their documentation?
Depends on
That depends. We offer it to the owner. Yeah, they don't always take it. We now, for those of you in the GC familiar with closeout and at the end of a project, usually it's it's dollies with 3-ring binders that we take to an owner. Well, now we've gotten it, and that's for another time, but we do what we call a DOM. It's a Digital Operations Management Manual. And we put it all on an iPad. We hand it over to the owner. If they wanted we kind of have a sit down prior though, and we do a checklist with their facility manager, and we say, hey, this is what we're going to give you. If you want this as well, we can give it, and one of those is the field lens dump.
Okay.
Yeah, for field lens, the information can be private to a person, private to a company, a group of companies, or to the entire project. And when it comes to things like that, you just filter down the information that you want to share. It's literally 3 clicks to share an entire project with a company.
So,
Exactly.
forgive my ignorance, I'm
No,
assuming
you're good.
there's a pay involved
With field lens,
subscription for field
Yeah.
lens.
it depends on the version you're using. So
So-
if you're a company that is reacting to content, for example, you're a subcontractor that you don't want to use field lens for your own company, but the GC or the owner or the architect is using field lens, then you don't have to pay anything, and you can use the app. You can react to the items that are assigned to you or that you're copied on, and you can do that free for life. But if you're somebody who wants to create your own project, organize your own data, and create your own items and assign them to your people, track your manpower, whatever, then there is a nominal fee for that, yeah.
Okay, so then like how does that work then? So, because the general contractor is going to want to keep those files
Yes.
if you do get sued down the road.
Sure. Yeah, of
and
course.
But
it's
the owner is also going to want it, and you're not going to want to have to keep paying for them to keep their files.
No,
as
we
well.
need a dump.
You just do a dump,
Yeah.
download a file, and they
Yeah.
one
Project
big,
dump.
one big ass handoff of
It's a
an
big,
external
yeah,
hard drive and call it a day.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, but for that owner though, if they're not using that, project to create content, it's still free for them. Like they can share with the owner if they're not creating projects.
Yeah, they can still go back and
They can-
access that
it's-
project
It's
through,
free for
through
it's
the
it's
interface.
free for as long as they want to keep it there.
Is your fee structure now per project, per license?
Per user.
per user.
Per user is the base of it. Now, obviously, enterprise deals are different, but
Yeah.
it is per paid user for creating content.
$15.
$15 a month is if it's one guy, it's $15 a month. And unlimited projects, unlimited data,
I was
unlimited
going to say,
everything.
yeah, because if you're putting this much data
Unlimited
in there now,
data, yeah.
is there an upload cap?
That
Is
was one of our big things before we went to.
Data's cheap. I mean, in this day and age, data's cheap. Why do we need to? It's going to cost us more money to track that and build the infrastructure for
Yeah.
measuring that
Right.
than it is to just take it and store it. It's
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, and the field lens, does it need to have an internet connection all the time? in order
no,
to-
it works offline. The construction industry, there are a lot of us that work here that came from the industry, and by came from the industry, I don't mean that we looked at a job site from an architect's office or as an intern or whatever. I'm 40 years old. I've been in the industry since I was 12. Our CEO was the MEP project manager on the New York Times building in Tower 4 and did a load of interior jobs. One of our iOS engineers was an electrician's apprentice to put himself through college. Like our coaches are ex-superintendents. There's real construction experience in this company. So when we built this app, we built it around real use cases. So you're 4 stories underground, or I happen to know that Tower 1 on the 102nd floor, there's no cell coverage.
No.
And it's got to work in both places. So that's
Mhm.
that's what we built, and it works seamlessly. So we're not capturing data and requiring you to go back and push the sync button. It just works.
Yeah, and just to recap on how we use it at our company, we use it. It is our communication medium for all project related data. I mean, it's amazing. Look at all the different ways we're always capturing and communicating information. Email, cell phone, talking, texting, handing out lists. Hopefully, fax machines not as much anymore. Yelling, right, through radios and stuff. All those ways that we are communicating, all those channels. What's the biggest issue with them? Well, 1, they're all segregated. 2, they're not being tracked. They're not being archived. You could argue emails being archived, but it's definitely not being tracked. How many times do you add in a calendar meeting just to remember to follow up on something, right? That's the issue. So I was having a discussion with someone earlier, I think last night, and we were talking about the death of email. And, it's going to come one day, right? And my argument is, I mean, look at how we've evolved as a society throughout history. I mean, we go from the Pony Express to I don't know what is in between, but I'll jump up to the fax machine because I'm still pretty young, but look at the fax machine. When that came out, I do remember I was 10 years old, and I remember seeing my dad get a fax from Europe, and it was just unbelievable. And now we look at it as like, you still use a fax machine. So, I mean, really, it's email has had its time, and it's going to go away. Ask a 13-year-old girl how many emails she got last week, and I bet she says this many. But at the same time, she stayed in touch with everyone she needed to. And she was using text messaging, Facebook, Pinterest, any other social media. So for us, this was that medium on the job site. This was that new way for all of our guys to throw in their daily reports, progress photos, of course, punch lists, any kind of task management. But it's worked great for us. We have it on every project and every guy in the field.
Now
Do
with
you
that and all the, if everyone has a body cam on with GPS location and everything, is there a function or is there a concept to think about in the future that content of where they're located effectively just fills out their time cards?
Hell yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I mean,
Right?
As a guy that
Better
worked the guy that worked in the field too,
So I can.
it was the most useless Friday afternoon lunch break you ever had.
Right.
Kenny,
Sure.
what about you tie it to the dog and then you just running around and then the dog can keep running around?
We gotta show that. What's that? What was that
Oh,
called?
yeah, Beagle Cam.
Yeah, check this out. You're psychic. So check it out. Is that what it's called?
Traveler in town.
We saw this picture. I don't remember what booth we were standing in. But
Am I spelling beagle wrong? How do you spell beagle?
B-E-A-G-L-E.
B-E-A-G-L-E.
There you go. That's it. Right
Ah,
there you go. Replace it.
yeah. So we saw this, and we said, "This is Beagle Cam 900. You release 900 beagles on your job site, and they capture everything that's occurring." And then we said,
You put it on goats and they'll eat the grass to
Yeah, exactly.
right. We said cleanup might be an issue though.
Yeah, so like the time card thing,
Yeah.
we're thinking about that in the same way. Like that shouldn't be like today we track manpower, and how do we track manpower poorly? Like let's be
Right.
honest, it takes time. Daily reports before field lands, daily reports are 2 hours at the end of the day trying to remember all the crap that you
Right.
forgot to take notes on
Right.
throughout it. We solved that with field lens, and now we're starting to think about not just time tracking, but just resource tracking. So we're going to track companies, we're going to track people, and we're going to track equipment, and be able to compare actuals against projections and things like that. But all that's the same stuff. So the sub is wanting his information just like the GC's wanting their own information and the information for the people that they have contracts with. So why are we bothering to do something that can be done for us? My phone knows where I am all the time.
Right.
If I'm using field lens on the job site, then I'm on the job site, and that's it. And we should just be capturing that automatically. And with your permission, we should be clocking you in at that point. And that's the direction that
And
we're
what you're-
headed with it.
What you're really talking about, Julian, is right now in the field of construction, we think we do it, but we don't. And that is capture information, right? It's funny, we jump ahead and we keep wanting to scrape data and do big data discussions and talk about how we're going to start doing analytics and predictions and trends. Guess what? None of that matters if you're not capturing the data effectively, right? And that's what basically these years right now that we're going through is capturing it, and then this next year hopefully we'll get to start learning from that data, predicting off that data, and actually using big data in the sense that it's supposed to be.
But to expand on that question,
Sure.
what is the analytics that is included in field lens?
Well, we're capturing a lot of things, and we're kind of working with companies to provide that. So what we're looking at right now, what our first quarter initiative for this year is to be able to quickly predict health around a project based on a couple different things, based on time, based on status, and the combination of those two, status at a time. So you can filter down, let's say you're going to filter down to a particular location of the project, and be able to look at the number of items and whether they're more open items, or items being resolved, or items closed. And if this is a stage in the project where the third floor should be getting closed out, and I got a lot of items that are staying open or ramping up on open items, and I know that that's not healthy. But if I see the open going down and the close going up, then I can probably skip over that. So that's the first piece. And then as we progress throughout the year and we work with companies like Rogers O'Brien, we're going to be providing things, based on presenting smaller pieces to them, letting them request, And we have the data now. It's just a matter of how we want to present it to them. We won't want to build a dashboard that somebody's going to pay attention to 10% of.
Right.
We want to build a dashboard that people really care about, and that they're capturing the information the way they want to capture it. Then we want to present it to them in the way they want to see it. So the next thing will be cross-project analytics. I mean, obviously you're going to want to see at the end of the year the simple things are obvious, right? I want to know out of all the plumbers that I worked with this year, I want to know the ones that were the most efficient, that closed out the items faster, that had fewer deficiencies on the project, had fewer or fewer change orders. All those things are simple, but there's more there's more involved in that. Also, we need to get into the pieces where we're talking about projections versus actuals of their manpower.
Right.
And they projected that they were going to have X number of people. Were they above that or below that? And were they above it toward the end of the project when they were getting in trouble? Or were they trying to get ahead and above it at the beginning of the project where they were lower at the end? Like all those things.
It's sort of like, so if we're talking about projections and actuals, it's the whole idea of how projected data ends up in the field lens, right? Like how are you going to reach out into whatever Primavera or...
Yeah, that's it.
Microsoft.
Our API opens up at the end of this quarter, and that's exactly the kind of things that we're thinking about. Is that we have to be able to do that because Primavera is a perfect example, and Rogers O'Brien, while they don't use Primavera, they use Phoenix. It's the same thing for us. We're the communications platform. That's the way we see ourselves. We're the communications platform for the construction industry, and to truly be the communications platform, we can't just be capturing communications of people. We have to be capturing the communications of different services. We have to be able to link your scheduling to your timekeeping, to whatever RFI and submittal solution that you want to use. That we have to be able to pull all that together, and even down to your plans from Bluebeam, we need to be able to have all that.
So you're looking to be in the middle, and
Yeah.
then you would reach out to all these other nodes that they...
Correct, because what most of those other companies don't have that we do is a simple interface for the field. And we are proving already that we're making the superintendents and the subcontractor foreman's days easier. That's what we're here for. That's why there's pictures of boots on the ground in our office, because we want to remind our engineers that those are the guys who we work for. And we start there, and then everything else flows into that because we have that interface. So when you want to tack on information to that, the superintendent didn't build that Primavera schedule. That didn't happen. That's never going to happen. So to be able to get the information from the super linked with that schedule is what we're looking
So you could track the project health of a project based on contract work, but you're not currently being able to do change order work, right?
Well, that's the thing is Fieldlands in regards to change orders it's intentionally vague. Change order in our world is a category on an item.
Right.
That's it. An RFI in our world is a
That can
task
always-
to you to
you can
request
always
more
have-
information.
Use
You
it.
can always have
It's-
risk.
yeah.
Yeah.
You said you had everybody on a project site, so architects, engineers, subcontractors. I know when I used Vela.
Yeah.
Subcontractors were able to enter punch list items, and then architects were directly able to communicate with those subcontractors. Is that true or is there a facility?
It is
so that
a-
general contractors
It is a
can fill it?
possibility in Fieldlands.
It's
an
dependent on
option.
how you want the
It's
permission.
what you want to do. If you
Oh,
want that
exactly.
to happen,
You can have it either way.
you can have it either way.
Have it your
That's
way.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Burger?
We
It's
got a
Burger
little.
King. You get a burger too.
We got a little pushback. So last year, it's gone 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Fieldlands was 3 item types. It was observations, deficiencies, and safety items. And we introduced the concept of tasks. And we got a lot of pushback from certain GCs in the field because what we introduced with tasks is we allowed the plumber to task the electrician without the GC seeing it. And the GC said, I want to see all of it. And we said, tough shit. Because if the plumber wants to tell the electrician to do something, he's going to walk across the site and go, get it out of my way.
It was a tough concept for me to accept at first when it was on my project, but he's so right. I mean, that when I was in the field, my plumber is talking to my electrician, and if that's going to happen no matter what, why don't we facilitate a way for them to do it more efficiently?
We wanted to create communication, though, as the way it is in the real world. Because if you're restricting them on those things.
But as a GC, you don't want the architect to tell your subcontractor what to do.
True, exactly. No, I want that to go through me.
And then with that, do you have a system in place if the owner signs on to do the whole project through Fieldlands or any other program, where the 3 signatures required before a change order happens can happen in software? Or is that still the email/memo that needs to get passed around for 2 days?
Again, it's kind of up to you. We're we don't have a change order button in Fieldland, so it's requirements based on you. So in our world, that would be 3 assignees that need to get to a certain status, and you can add unlimited assignees to a single item. So that would be the same thing.
I was going to just check on one of our projects in Texas right now, so we can jump in and just see what this is updated today, 10:45 a.m. So they did a daily report. They also did an observation of noting some masonry progress at the Cup Building, the Central Utility Plant. You can see it's just now we're able to capture what's occurring real time, right? That's the real beauty. I mean, there's so much that we want to integrate and connect and start adding that intelligence. But the part that I want to bring everyone in this room back down to is exactly our guys in the field. That's a new concept for them, right? Yeah. So that's the first step. That's why I'm not hammering Julian right now with every integration possible. I'm hammering him with let's make it the most usable, easy to implement app in the field. And basically, it's become so easy that my guys, if they can send a photo to the girlfriend through text message, they can use field points.
Yeah,
So-
the thing about the construction field is that like we have a program manager, we have a construction manager,
Right.
GC, so in the subcontractors, so there's so many different stakeholders
Sure.
in the sense that different people are interested in different slices of the puzzle.
Sure.
And the lowest common denominator, of course, is the field. So
Yeah.
that
You're right.
It seems like this is what.
We're here to limit their exposure to only what they want at that particular time. We're not, no one person has access to the entire project unless all the people who entered that data went to the trouble to add that single person to it. So if the electrician signs on and the GC hasn't shared any items other than their tasks and deficiencies, that's all he's got to deal with. Right? So other than the stuff that he's created to communicate with his own people, he's not presented with all this data that he only cares about.
Right. So I think we've taken probably enough time,
Yes.
everyone. I know you gotta want to get.
I
you
was
have a
just going to
question?
say, to bring it back to what you were talking
Yeah.
about originally in your goal, telling this technology stuff.
Yeah.
We've talked mostly about things we're adding to the workers.
Right.
Have we started looking at what we're adding to the building?
Yes.
Because I can see, like
Yes.
what you said, I have
Totally.
green, and I have a blue icon for media.
Yeah.
But assuming Apple keeps putting money into Apple Pay, they'll
Right.
finally have to adopt NFC.
Sure.
So
Totally.
is that then an NFC tag that you create for each room based on the drawing set?
We
and it gets stuck on the door frame after
Totally.
initial framing comes in?
what you're speaking of is making the building dynamic with the information, right?
During
That's
construction,
exactly.
not just the smart building.
Yeah, exactly. So we've tested a lot of different things. I mean, all the way from, of course, barcoding, QR coding, NFC, beacon, Wi-Fi fingerprinting. There's a lot of stuff out there, right? To be honest, some of the best things use what was that one class we took where they mentioned it? Sensor fusion, and that's basically where they're combining multiple technologies such as NFC and beacon at the same time, and what's the magnometer positioning?
Yeah, I forgot where they use the Earth's magnetic field.
There's some
steel.
So it's that sensor fusion, I think, is where it's really at, and there's a lot of companies out there. This is probably going to be the year, right? This is the year that indoor positioning, being able to tie data to locations happens. So yes, we're so excited about that, and that's definitely what we want to integrate with.
We're making a play this year in that direction. I'm happy to talk to you about it offline and tell you where we're going and why.
Yeah.
It's more interest than anything.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I work at
Totally.
CSI. I write tech documents for a living.
Very cool.
So I have no
Yeah.
no actual job experience. However, I guess more for you guys in the field lens, but also for you.
Yeah.
When you're doing final walkthroughs, I'm assuming you're documenting and photographing these things. Have either of you been in touch with Google in regards to? I'm actually one of their certified building photographers.
Really?
Where they pay me $500 a building to walk in, and every 8 feet put up a tripod, take
No
12
way.
photos, walk 8 feet, take 8 photos. So you have street view inside
Yeah,
businesses.
exactly.
Sure.
It would save them a hell of a lot of time, finding, sideline photographers that are willing to,
Right.
go at, 2 in the afternoon to kick everyone out of the business and take the photos. If you're already
Right.
doing it during walkthrough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I,
totally.
I have a little bit of experience with that particular use case, and I can't. You might. I know that Skanska looked at them too, and I cannot remember the name of the company. Do you remember the name of that company that did that? That was job site photos, and they were overlaying them on that web app.
Multivista.
Multivista.
Yeah.
So Multivista.
You can do it all yourself.
Exactly. That was the thing. So
I used them on 2 of my projects.
Multivista was a great marketing machine.
If anyone's from them, I love them.
Yeah, I apologize if I'm offending them. What they were was a great marketing
They
machine.
were great at the time whenever it wasn't, didn't have the ability to do it
The
yourself.
problem is, I always look at things like that. Is you have to assume 2 things. One, you have to assume that they won't. That the guy is not going to, you're going to go out there and you're going to take your 12 photos at every interval, and I'm going to need you to bend 6 feet before that. I just have to assume that you're going to miss it. By no fault of your own, you're going to follow the structure you were given. And I'm going to be like, damn, I wish he was 6 foot back so I could see this. But now I have to get up and do that. And when you do that, that's the second thing, is you've just created a dependency on something, and now someone has to go around it. They're let down by that. So their perception of that is completely negative. And that's not what we're kind of the opposite of that. We don't want
Yeah, it was more or less just that if you're already documenting everything, it's owner based. The owner pays for it to be put into their business listing in Google.
Right.
It'd be just another thing that you could offer that, the last folder in the, your document set is,
Totally.
and if you want this on Google Business, it's already been merged in the photos.
Sure.
Just submit this file to them and give them the $270 or whatever. I don't even know what the business pays for it.
Yeah.
And then the street view goes straight from the street into your building.
Very cool.
And you wouldn't have to worry as the photographer having to try to kick all the clients out without them losing business to pay the photos.
Right. Yeah. No, we'd love to have that offering. That's a pretty cool idea, actually.
Yeah. So I can.
Yeah,
you
please,
can't-
let's huddle
You
up
can't get
after.
into it until they officially invite you, but I can give you the contacts of people that.
That'd be
you can
great.
do that.
That'd be great. Well, guys, we know we've taken way too much of your time, but really, this was just a field perspective, but hopefully stimulate your imagination a little bit. It's an exciting time for the industry, especially out there, because it's hitting these guys and it's culture shock right now. But just when you're walking back home or when you're doing your normal workflow, think about taking some inspirations from some other industries, some other areas, and applying to your own and break some paradigms. That's why we're all here, right? So awesome. Thanks for your time, guys.
If you, yes and no. If we have trades in the app, and it's based on CSI.
Yes, I do. Actually,
But what we found by doing that was that it's at CSI. Where are you from? In that, it works for a specific use case, but in the field, all they really want to know is how they are on the job site, and there's often not.
No, I'm only in
Really want to know
Texas.
contracts,
Texas,
right?
yeah,
So what are the
yeah,
trades?
all over Texas.
Yeah, but
primarily there. Every once in a while,
that's not what
projects
we're
out of
about.
state,
That's not the use case that we're trying
Usually
to
just
solve. So
around
what
the
we're,
south right
well,
there.
that's where we went at.
Usually
That's
you
what we
don't
started
see,
with was
contractors
the
and
latest
GCs being
release
so
of the
interested in
that
technology.
and,
Yeah, we're
then we went back
definitely
and
not
after a
like
year
the
we
rest
looked
of them,
at
but
all the
we
ones that we
definitely
used,
believe
and what
in
was
it. We're
used
very
was
passionate about
plumber,
it. And that's not just in
electrician,
our
landscaper,
BDC department.
It wasn't
That's
none
coming
of
from
the
the top. I
the
mean, our
extraterrestrial
leadership
design
believes
and
in
all
it.
the,
And that's
none
that's
of that
why
stuff
we've
was
been able
used.
to.
And what we had done was we
take
had
them
created
over.
this massive list for
Excellent.
people
Thank
to
you very
search
much.
through.
Yeah, it's great
or
meeting.
Give me my
manual
card.
selection.
Yeah,
We
please,
had-
please do.
Thanks.
give it
Tom,
a
Tom.
Yeah, Tom, definitely.
But-
Good to see you. Yeah, we
It
met
was
back in the
aggravating.
lobby.
That's
Just
right,
wanted
yeah.
to short-
I'd love to see that see,
So
because
what
I
we
saw the
did was
flare.
Yeah,
we
What do you think
the,
this
the
is
way it works in
fair?
our app and the way
Yeah,
people
it is.
Yeah.
what it
But
adapt-
here's
what
the
it
thing.
evolved
The
to
thing that I liked
was,
about it was this was before.
it's-
Right,
it's all
lightning
about
connection
nearly
is not the
coordination.
case.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So-
that's why I was
Talking
gonna,
about
jump on that
making
one.
Yeah,
So
so
that-
here, you can try it out. Do you have
I don't have the app.
That's all right.
Trades, and then
Yeah,
after
it's-
those trades are added to
Yeah,
the
you
project,
actually
all
do.
those
And
items
you know
are
what? I don't
automatically
think
passed
here's
over to
the-
the
Okay,
plumber.
I'll download
He's
it.
assigned them to plumber, and when a
problem with both of
subcontractor
them
comes
is
on and says,
this.
"I'm the plumber on this job," then all the items that are assigned to
Oh,
plumber
in
are
that
now assigned
case.
to his company.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I even talked to the Fleer guys, and they
So
said,
how
"Well,
do you
you
deal
can
if
go buy
there's
an
a
Excel."
plumber that
I'm
has
like,
two contracts?
why are you going to make all
In
those?
regards to two different
Probably
projects.
have a
Same
code.
project.
Yeah,
Just
no,
like
no, no.
just like Google with the Chromecast, they give you the
Like
HDMI.
If we have
So-
multiple plumbers
but yeah, try
on
it.
a job
You
is
can play
one
with
thing,
it
but
for a
you got
little
one
while.
guy.
Yeah,
We're just
like
talking
try
about
it out.
items in the
What's,
in there that are assigned to
I guess
the
the
plumber.
FLIR gives you the outline.
Yeah,
of
that-
some
Have you
stuff.
seen the Fleer?
Yeah, I was looking
Yeah,
at
the
it
Fleer,
earlier.
the
Where you have
Fleer's
two
pretty
packages
good. I mean, the
one
quality is
contractor
great.
gets
And
one
actually, here, you
packages.
can play with them.
Well,
both
that would
if
be
you
they would
want,
just be
to
categorized.
kind of cross compare.
Right.
So you would have, say 30 things, 12 of them
You
pertain
said
to
you're
one
an Android guy?
contract. and
Well,
the rest of
before
them
I got
pertain to the other.
into,
Those are
before
the categories.
I implemented two.
So it'd just be the same.
But yeah, no,
same
actually
iOS,
very
he's got his
close. I
same
gotta-
list.
So it's
If he's
com-
worried
company
about
issues
separating from his
iOS.
own mind, he
Company
just filters
issues
it
iOS.
That's the way Skanska
particular
does it.
category.
Yeah, but
He's
I
not
got
even
everyone
looking
on the
all
same
at
platform.
Yeah, I got a Galaxy Note in my backpack also, so I
Right.
run both.
Right.
Gotta keep up with both, right?
You got to. Yeah. No, I have the HTC One in my
Nice.
bag too. So
Definitely.
because like for Google Cardboard and stuff, you
Yeah.
got more functionality.
Right, definitely. Well, yeah, and it's so easy for these guys to send